Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Internet. It's Rock and Roll Spot Convention with the retro review of Halloween 2 from 1981. With both Halloween and Halloween 2, I'm making a point of saying which one, or listing the release here, as there are currently 2 Halloweens and 2 Halloween 2s, and soon to be a 3rd Halloween. Anywho, so getting into Halloween 2, the sequel to John Carpenter's Halloween from 1978. First off, the cast of note. We've got Jamie Lee Curtis reprising her role as Laurie Strode, Donald Pleasence reprising his role as Dr. Sam Loomis, Charles Cyphers briefly reprising his role as Sheriff Lee Brackett. We get Lance Guest, who would go on to star in The Last Starfighter, a favorite of mine, as Jimmy. Hunter Van Leer as Deputy Gary Hunt, who is the primary law enforcement figure in the film, as Brackett takes a backseat due to the events of the first movie. David Warlock plays Michael Myers, or The Shape, however you want to look at him. Gloria Gifford plays the nurse known as Miss Alves. Leo Rossi plays Bud, an EMT, alongside Jimmy. Tawny Moyer is another nurse, Jill. Paula Susan Shoup plays a nurse named Karen. Anna Alicia plays a nurse named Janet. Ford Rainey plays Dr. Mixter, the on-duty doctor at Haddonfield Memorial Hospital on Halloween night, 1978. Cliff Emmett plays Mr. Garrett, the security guard, and Nancy Stevens reprises her role from the first film as Nurse Marion Chambers. Alright, so, first off, what is Halloween 2 about? It picks up right where, first off, we pick up literally right where the first movie ended. Dr. Loomis is shot. Michael Myers out off a balcony looked down and noted the fact that Michael is gone. And so the injured Laurie Strode is loaded into an ambulance, while the house across the street is investigated by the sheriff's department, who finds the 3 dead bodies, including the dead body of Sheriff Brackett's daughter, Annie. Anyway, before Annie's body is definitively identified, Brackett and Loomis continue searching for Myers as he continues making his way through town. So first off, he does kill a young woman after he gets a knife from her neighbor's house. Then once again we got 2 stories. We've got Laurie at the hospital, Loomis in town. Until the 2 converge. So Laurie gets there. At the hospital, Laurie is shot up with I can't remember what she was shot up with, but painkillers for and thusly, taken care of. The hospital staff is systematically murdered by Michael Myers as he tries to get to her. Halfway after Deputy Hunt takes over for Sheriff Brackett, a a marshal as well as Nurse Chambers show up to take Loomis back to Smith's Grove. Apparently, there's some information that they didn't have. That information being that Laurie Strode is actually Laurie Myers, the sister of Michael. We'll get into that later. So anyways, Loomis goes to the hospital and he and Michael have their final showdown, which results in seemingly both of them being severely burned, if not burned to death. Laurie escapes, kind of banged up, but alive. So, let's talk. All right. So, other things aside from the plot. First off, the lighting in the film is much different, brighter actually. I mentioned in the review of Halloween that they had a really excellent use of lighting, and of course the lack thereof. There are some scenes that are dark, where they're poorly lit, and it's like, okay, and but most scenes in this are, very bright. You can see exactly what's going on, and like I said, some units but it's a very few, and most of this is because a lot of the film takes place in a hospital, and hospitals tend to be very bright and brightly lit because they're always open. It's also much bloodier or gorier. Halloween, you don't get much in the way of blood and gore. There are some murders, in the movie, but like I said, most of them are not. I don't think any of them were really all that gruesome. This one, however, one of the nurses gets her face repeatedly shoved into a hot tub. Miss Alves has an IV hooked up to her, but with basically so the blood will flow out of her, out of the IV and onto the floor. Like I said, you get some real gruesome stuff in this one, but especially compared to Halloween. Now, while the movie has a much faster pace, you don't, unlike Halloween, where where 2/3 of the film are the build-up, basically building up to that night when Michael just goes off. Instead, this is he's already gone. He's already doing this. So it moves a lot faster. There are a lot of the Loomis points actually kind of slow things back down, so we can so we the viewers can catch our breath. Okay, all right, and digest the last killing or killings. Now, I mentioned the Laurie Strode reveal in the talk about the plot. I don't think that the reveal was done all that well. I don't have a problem with it. It's just that looking at the points in time covered in the original Halloween films, to me, doesn't make much sense. Okay, so it makes perfect sense that the Myers would have left Haddonfield after Michael killed Judith. Perfect sense. Of course they're going to go far away. but they're going to go to the moon to get away from this. But they're still going to take their daughter with them, their infant daughter, Lori. In fact, there's even a flashback shown in the movie with a memory that Lori has of going to see Michael, and she looks to be about 4 or 5 years old at this point. So she was adopted off at like at 4 or 5 years old at the very least. Because you got to figure she's 17 in Halloween, and it's been 15 years. So this is 2 to 3, not that. So that flashback had to have happened anywhere from 2 to 4 years. I had to say, and this is going to probably be a very controversial opinion of mine, that explaining how it was that Laurie Strode came to be Laurie Strode instead of Laurie Myers was done better by Rob Zombie. See, in Rob Zombie's version, we get a little bit of the family what's left of the family afterwards, and we find out that Mrs. Myers committed suicide watching home movies, and Brackett explains to Loomis that he, was called showed up there on a call about gunfire. Finds Mrs. Myers dead, and they're lying, sitting there is his baby, Lori. So he takes the baby and basically puts her in a foster system, and she ends up being fostered by the Strodes, who then moved to Haddonfield. It makes sense. Like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, it's kind of dark, and you also have to factor in, in the original ones that Michael's, as far as we can tell, Michael's father is still alive too. So, but yeah, it just doesn't mesh to me at least. Anyways, moving on, and that's something we'll talk about. Probably talk about it in length again when I get to the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. But anyways, so Halloween 2 follows, and to be perfectly honest, sets the rules for horror sequels pretty well, actually. It serves as an excellent ending to that overall story. If they had just stopped doing them there, that would have been fine. Final thing, while body count, while higher, it's largely made up of characters that have little to no impact on the story. That's kind of my only complaint there. I would rather see, if you're going to, but again, I mentioned it's not just following, but also setting the rules for the horror sequel. For the future horror movie sequels would actually be a lot better at, we're going to kill this character you thought was going to be important, or at least halfway important. So overall, in all honesty, I feel like Halloween 1 and 2 are one movie just cut in two. I feel the same way about Hellraiser 1 and 2. But, so yeah, on its own, it's actually not too bad. It's not a bad movie. and it tells you everything you need to know very quickly, very quickly and or over and over again. I'm pretty sure that in the first half hour, Dr. Loomis states that he shot Michael 6 times, about 50 times. I didn't count. Maybe I should sometime. But anyway, post that on my Twitter and my Facebook. I shot him 6 times. It said this many times. There's an alternate. There's an alternate ending where it turns out Jimmy and Laurie are in the same ambulance at the end, as they're both injured. It should be. Jimmy is kind of important. He's the only character at the hospital that survives, that works there. He slips in the puddle of Miss Al's blood and knocks himself out. But it's a head injury, and he had blood on him, so it's going, well, we're just going to wrap his head up and put him in an ambulance, too. And to a hospital that isn't now a fucking crime scene. Excuse me. It's a decent flick. It's a slasher flick. I mean, whenever I rank, and like I said, whenever I rank movies, this is one of the times when I do consider the first sequel to be, just part of the same story, and so 1 and 2 get, crammed together as one entry. Hell, I consider Lord of the Rings to be one movie. I consider, again, if I'm like making a list of things, Lord of the Rings is one film. All three are one film. Star Wars. Okay, so Star Wars counts as 5 movies now. Original trilogy, prequel trilogy, sequels, hang loose, Rogue One, Solo. So yeah, but I would even go so far as to say Star Trek 2, 3, and 4 could be listed that way, though I tend to just kind of say, let's talk about 2 and not, and yeah. Anyway, but yeah, like I said, decent focus. I've found, especially that the older horror sequels, especially in the slasher genre, tend to be better films. Mainly because better cast, better writing. It wasn't a sequel factory at that point. Well, yeah, I think that's it. Let's see, I think Friday, tomorrow we'll be taking the day off. Saturday, I think we'll probably be building the team. If I can figure out the hell I'm gonna. It's gonna probably be a long one because I gotta figure a lot of shit out. Sunday, I don't know yet. I honestly do not know. Beyond that, we'll be doing Halloween's 4, 5, and 6, then Halloween H2O and Resurrection, and then Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2. Also, after doing the Rob Zombie Halloweens, we'll definitely be doing we'll be doing retro reviews of older horror movies, or, well, horror-ish movies. I'm not going to tell you which ones they are. You'll just have to, you're going to have to wait until I do the actual, until I do them. So anyways, as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon are in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.